It was Bethany's turn and she was nervous. She could do a cartwheel into a handstand followed by a roll to finish. She did it, but midway through the handstand her nerves got the better of her and she wet her pull-up whilst her pull-up was in full view of the class. Because she had forgotten to put on her panties. Everyone watched as the font of the pull-up went yellow, and to make things worse, when she landed her roll it went wrong cause she was nervous and she landed on her bum, causing her full pull-up to leak, and it was obvious she had wet herself as there was now a small puddle around her as the impact caused the pull-up to burst. Everyone was stunned, then the whole class including her friends laughed at her misfortune. The only one who didn't was ABI, who kindly pushed past the other giggling girls and helped the stricken Bethany up, standing in front of her to maintain her last shred of dignity. ABI turned to face the still laughing girls and looked absolutely furious. She screamed angrily, "How would you like it if it happened to you and everyone laughed at you? It's not her fault. She has a problem, and if anyone laughs at her again, it'll make ye regret it yourselves, got it? Now shut up and leave her alone." One of the older girls in the class decided to be stupid and push ABI further. "So how would you make us regret it then, Abigail?" ABI laughed coolly. "I take it YA never met a witch before, did YA?" ABI, still furious, looked at the older girl and her power manifested itself. Imperia Agona wet Han. Then she looked at the girl eye to eye. Abis' eyes blood red for a second, then a streak of red light to fast to follow hit the other girl in the stomach and knocked her flying. The girl then felt great pain in her bladder. The impact from Abis' spell provided too much for the other girl's very full bladder. ABI snapped out of her rage and was horrified at what she had just done. She knew not where the words in her mind came from. Then she said them out loud. She had no idea what she had just done and knew that Miss Summer had seen everything. Miss Summer glared at ABI and said, barely keeping her voice under control, "Abigail Brightwater, I will talk to you after the session." Takes Bethany to the nurseroom, then goes and gets changed, and don't come back into the lesson, you're in real trouble. Bethany, now equally horrified and both girls in tears, went to the nurse's office to showered and fixed up, and ABI, full of self-loathing, went to get changed and cried till the class returned. She knew what would await her when her daddy heard about this and didn't want to think about it. At the end of the gym lesson, they girls all came back in and got dressed. While they were dressing, Miss Summer took ABI into a side room and left the class with the class assistant. She didn't look angry, but she did look disappointed. Once inside, she closed the door and gestured for ABI to sit down on one of the chair. ABI did as she was told but squirmed uncomfortably. Miss Summer sat down and ABI looked at the floor ashamed. Miss Summer gently took Abis' chin in her hand and turned her to face her. She met Abis' eyes for a second and ABI averted her eyes slightly. Miss Summer spoke quietly. "I am very disappointed in what you have just done to Jennifer, Abigail. You know you will have to be punished, but that can wait. I need to know how long you have had this power, Abigail." ABI looked downcast and a few tears escaped her eyes. "Well, Miss Summer, that was the first time I knew I had it. That was the first time it ever manifested. I was really scared at the time. YAC, my daddy knew I was different. He told me all the time that he didn't want me to use my powers ever. Any books I had about witchcraft that me ma'am left me he burned. He told me it was for the best, but I knew there was another reason. You don't take YA daughter's inheritance off her for not reason." She trailed off now and couldn't continue. She was crying so much her body was being shaken by sobs. Miss Summer stood up and held out her arms for this sad little girl, and ABI accepted the embrace and cried into her teacher's shoulder for a full minute before she was ready to carry on, and even then she was still sobbing a little. Miss Summer decided to take the chance to put things right. She whispered in Abis' ear, "Look, ABI, I know all about magic and witchcraft. Bethany's mummy is one of my best friends and has told me all about it. Your behavior was wrong, but your intentions were good. I know 'cause I saw the whole thing, but there are some rules about being a witch that you must know if your daddy has kept them from you. Are you ready to know what they are?" ABI nodded weakly and dried her eyes and took a deep breath to get herself composed. "Yes, Miss Summer, I'm ready." So Miss Summer told Abigail Brightwater all about the rule of 3 and what being a witch actually meant. She told ABI that Bethany and her whole family had the power. Miss Summer also told her that ABI could learn a lot from Bethany and her family if she asked the right questions. The last thing the teacher said is that Abigail's power would be a gift if she used it right and a curse if she didn't. Then she left ABI to think on all this and digest it in the side room to go and see what the other girls were up to. They were dressed and sat in their seats, but they were talking and staring at ABI and glaring at her. Bethany had not arrived back yet. When Bethany did arrive back, no one said anything to her about her accident and humiliation. They just got on with their work. The class didn't even stare at or talk about ABI. It was as if nothing had happened. Miss Summer must have had a word with the class about Bethany and ABI. ABI would rather not think about what might have been said. It was clear though that Bethany's friends did not like ABI or Sophie, and because Bethany spent more time with ABI than them, they weren't bothered about her much either. Also, they knew Bethany hadn't forgiven them for laughing at her humiliation, and she wouldn't for several days. They knew it better to leave her in such situations without trying to force conversation. The rest for the day progressed like normal, with only glares and whispered conversation about ABI and Bethany from the other girls. It was Friday, and ABI and Bethany had arranged a sleepover at Bethany's house to get to know each other better. ABI had a lot of questions for Marina, and she didn't know about Lexi, so she was in for an interesting evening. ABI stopped at her house first to pick up her overnight stuff and violin, and then they walked to Bethany's house.